Hello everybody, my name is CulBlu and I'm bringing out this video of me talking about some board game stuff, and today I'm going to be talking about some accessories. As you can see probably from the title of the video, talking about some dice things, some dice accessories. I don't know what the final name of this video is going to be, but I do know this is my third time recording it, so we're going to go through this in an organized, structured manner, starting with music, of course. I'm starting to realize that sometimes it's probably better for me to sit down and plan out videos, but you know what? Current me understands that, but past me did not respect that, and here I am. We're recording the videos. All right, sorry, enough of my rants. Going back into the things that we have here, we have before us a few different dice accessory things, and I'm going to talk about these things. I'm going to include links and descriptions and stuff, so if you want to check out specific things, if something fancy or tickled your fancy, you want to check it out, feel free to check it there. Also, this video is not sponsored. It's not sponsored. I'm not sponsored by anybody. I'm not paid by anybody to talk about anything. And even if I was sponsored, I would still give my raw opinions, but that's not to say that I predict I'm going to be sponsored in the future, but this is not sponsored. And I'm mostly saying that because out of these things here, 4 of these things are Gamegenic specific, and I am not sponsored for Gamegenic. It'd be great if they would sponsor me, but you know, we can dream, all right, all that disclaimer and all those things aside, this is going to be talking about dice accessories. Mostly talking about this because I'm getting into playing One Deck Dungeon, sorry, the 20 Strong series. I'm doing some playthroughs of that. And I decided to up my dice game a little bit. And there's a few different items that we have here. I'm going to try to talk about them in somewhat of a structured manner so it can help with bookmarks in the future. And also if you just want to hear things about specific items that I have here, I'll talk about those, give you my experience, talk about the pros and cons, and I'll try to keep it nice and concise with each one. I cannot promise that this video will be a short video though, so you've been warned. All right, so before us, I have some things, and I'll talk about dice for a specific moment, just a brief moment before I get into talking about the accessories here. So dice come in a lot of different shapes and sizes, and there's a few different types of dice. The types of dice I'm gonna focus on here though, are gonna be just simply D6s, 12 millimeter, oh sorry, not 12, 16 millimeter D6s, which is the standard size of D6 here. And that's all these dice here, and a few of the dice that I have here in these Chessex Chessex kits here. There's also D20s, which the standard size for a D20 according to the internet is a 22 millimeter. That's going to be important. Oh, this is a counter. Oh no. All right, well that's a spin down counter. That's a different size. And actually, let me, where's my other camera? Let me switch over to my other camera so I can kind of show you all a zoom in. Ooh, that is too zoomed in. All right, if I can just get it to calm down a little bit, that'd be great. All right, 1 second. Totally playing this part out, I promise. All right, there we go. So that's good enough. But yeah, there's a standard size for D20s. So the spin down counter is actually a different size. It's slightly bigger, and it's a little bit difficult to see because it's a dark background on dark, a dark item on dark background. But you can kind of see the size difference visually between these two. So I don't know what the exact size of these are, but these standard D20s are 22 millimeters in size. And I'm mentioning all these sizes and everything up front because it's going to be useful for knowing what's actually working, what's not working, specifically with the Crystal Twister once we get to it, which I'll probably start with. And then the other size dice that I have here, I have 12 millimeter dice. The 12 millimeter dice are dice that you find in things like One Deck Dungeon. That's actually one of these boxes here. And these are just smaller dice that are things to consider. And also have some weird dice here. I don't know the exact size of these dice, but these are like D7s, D31s. Very strange dice. I found this at one of my local game stores and I thought it was pretty neat, so I got it. And I think everything else is kind of standard. Oh, I have a D8. A D8 is between 15 millimeters and 16 millimeters. Standard size D8. I didn't get it for D10s or D4s, but we have a veritable of dice here. I also have some oversized dice here that I will probably not roll in anything, but I just got them just because they're cool. All right, so that is what we have here. So I got my standard size dice here. I got an assortment of other dice here, D20s, D12s, D10s, and all the fun, all the 9s. Okay, cool. So we got all of our dice. We've established that we have our dice. I actually didn't think this part through of where to put the dice, so they'll be out of my way. So I guess they'll just continuously be in my way this whole entire time. Woohoo. All right, so I mentioned before that I was going to try to probably start with the Crystal Twister so I can kind of get it out of the way. So we will be kind of putting this here front and center. And the Crystal Twister is an item from Gamegenic, and I'll also be talking about prices of all these things, just so you can kind of know what the relative price is when you purchase one of the things and when you use them, see if it's worth your money. I'm just going to be completely honest with you. there's only maybe 2 items on this table that I would recommend purchasing. Everything else is either way too expensive or not worth the money, which I guess is the same thing as saying it's way too expensive. But the Crystal Twister is just barely not worth getting. And what I mean by that is that the Crystal Twister is a item that MSRPs, according to Gamegenic site, is a $40 device, a $40 thing. And it's nice. It's nice and great to use. I'll use some standard sized dice. I'll use some Fate dice here, which has plus and minuses and blinks. But it kind of goes through. It makes a really nice, pleasant sound, and I appreciate that greatly. And it's a little bit hard to see the visual from there. Actually, ooh, I have my other camera set up. One second. Let me adjust this camera. It's pleasant to like listen to, and it sounds neat, but also it's a little bit of a concern, I should say. Mostly because it's fragile. So I'm gonna switch over to my other camera view that I have here for one of my videos that I did earlier. This is not gonna be a regular occurrence because I'm not gonna keep this set up this whole time. So congratulations, you have a little bit of extra stuff here. Actually, this will be bright enough. Hold on, let me change my settings here on the camera. Nope, wrong way. All right, there we go. So this is the Crystal Tower. I was mentioned before, slightly different angle from what I normally do in my videos, so hooray for you. But as you can see, when you roll the dice, they kind of go around, they spin, they make a really nice sound. It does really cool things, it's neat. I appreciate it as a dice tower. I think it's pretty cool. I think it's pretty nifty. It sounds really good to the point to where my mic, is it clipping? I don't know. My mic is having trouble keeping up with it with the settings that I have, but ultimately it sounds nice. I like the little clink at the bottom. It does a little thing, but the reason why, and I want to point this out, I think is extremely important. This is a $40 device. This costs a lot of money, relatively speaking, especially since you can just roll dice and throw into a dice tray and have the same randomization that you would normally need. This thing is fragile, and I don't want to over or underemphasize how fragile it is. What I mean by that is it's made out of acrylic, so it's not like it's going to fall apart just by holding it. But as you can see, I'm kind of squeezing here and it's flexing at the top. That's not to say it's shoddy construction. This is a kind of a DIY kit. When Gamegenic sells it to you for $40, you do have to put it together yourself. So be careful with that. Try not to break your pieces. But when I say it's fragile, I mean that when it falls over, or if it falls over, these pieces inside of here, these moving pieces, these are liable to pop out. And if they do pop out, you kind of got to maneuver it in and kind of get it to get back into its little hole there. And I have the good fortune of not having dropped this a lot of times, but there was one time I had a really bad drop to where it kind of fell, like it tumbled. It didn't fall off the table, it tumbled off the table. So it kind of fell, hit a chair, and then it kind of hit the ground. And when it did, like 2 of these pieces popped out, and I had to really gingerly go in and like kind of finesse it back in, and it was really annoying. I don't want to. Sometimes I don't like bringing this out at my game nights because I don't want people to knock it over, or I don't want it to fall, and I just want to treat it like precious china, like, you know, the good stuff. You'll see it a lot in my videos. You'll see a lot of my videos of where I'm rolling dice, at least in the past. In the future, I'm going to switch over to something else. But I do think it's nice. I do think it's great. I do think it's not worth the $40. So if you are going to get yourself one, just keep in mind it is fragile. Just take care of it. It does get a little bit fingerprinty. You can see here it's kind of smudged all over. I don't know how well the camera quality is going to show it, but it does get a little dirty over time because it's kind of clear and you kind of get like grime and stuff on there. So you have to keep that in mind. I don't think, I don't know if this will actually turn yellow if you put it into like sunlight directly. I don't keep my stuff in sunlight directly, but I guess you can have a yellowing effect. I think that's something that happens with acrylic. But I'm saying all these things just to say that the Crystal Tower is one of my favorite things that I have. And it was the original dice tower that I originally got before I kind of got a little bit, started expanding out a little bit further. But I swore by this thing up and down. You'll see in a lot of my videos where I have dice in the past. But you'll probably see it less and less because I kind of prefer some of the other towers that I have here. But I do think it's nice. It's like a nice luxurious like bling if you want to have it on your table. Just do know that when you're playing board games with your guest, as I have with my situations, there will be people not necessarily fighting over it, but everybody wants to use it because it sounds nice and it looks cool. So you might need 2 of them. But all that goes along with to say that I don't think this is necessary. I think this is expensive. $40 is a lot. And there's definitely things that are going to be broaching that $40 price range. I think if this thing was like $20 for sure, instant buy, but $40 feels a little bit of a pricey thing. But I like it. I've enjoyed my experience with it, and I don't want to disparage it too much. I just want to let you know that I have mixed feelings about it because I feel like it's a little bit pricey. I feel like it's a little bit fragile, but I do love the sound of it. I do like the presentation that it gives you of like the dice kind of go in circles. And if I throw a few more dice in here, you'll see like just like a nice little procession of dice. This feels nice. Also, another thing to mention is that somebody else pointed out in their video, so I'll mention in mine, but D4s and D8s, this tower can struggle with. And actually D6s too, if you throw too many too fast, things will get stuck. So of course, as I say that you can do that, I just don't do it here. There you go, yeah. So things can kind of get stuck, you have to be worried about that. The worst dice being stuck has been like in here and I had to kind of like fish it out. D4s, yeah, don't roll D4s in this. This is not a D4 rolling thing. D8s are suspicious. They can roll okay, but they're liable to get stuck too. So just be careful of that. Some pros and cons and things about that. I'm gonna move on to the next item here though. That's the Crystal Dice Tower. Sorry, the Crystal Twister from Gamegenic. Feel free to get it if you want. I have one, I'm glad I got it. I just don't think it's something I can fully recommend because I think it's $40, it's pretty expensive, relatively speaking. Okay, all right, so we've definitely talked about that one a lot. So let's go and move on to the next one. So I'll put this over here out of the way so it doesn't fall. The next one I'm going to talk about is going to be another Gamegenic item. This is less of a dice tower, more of a dice accessory. And you'll see that the reason why I kind of bring this one up, and oh my gosh, what is that? Sorry, this like banding, that's so weird. Is that because of my light? Anyway, I don't know if it's going to show up in the final video, but for me, it just looks like it has like banding across, and that's very concerning. I think it's the way the light's reflecting off of this and the camera. I don't know, that's just really strange. My mesmerizement, me being mesmerized aside, this is the Gamegenic Games Lair 600. So the Gamegenic Games Lair 600, as you can see, I have a number of games in here. I have Pocket Tanks is in here, Biblios is in here, One Deck Galaxies in here, One Deck Dungeons in here. I have a veritable number of games, Age of Galaxies in here. I think Age of Civilizations in here too. Yeah, Age of Civilizations in here. And I have a number of games inside of this, and these are things that are super ultra expensive. So these are $90 a piece. MSRP, just to be more specific, is $89.99. I don't know if tariffs have affected that, but I feel like I bought mine for around $75 to $80, so it sounds about right. But the features and the claim to fame for this one, and I'll bring it up on the other camera since I have the advantage of another camera here with bad lighting. It has these little flaps that are pretty neat, and this allows you to store stuff. So it has like little shelves, so you can kind of pull out the shelves and have your pieces down here. You can put cards inside of these. You can put, as you can see here, plastic bags and accessories or bits and bobs. I just kind of shoved pieces where they fit in this particular game. These are the Pocket Tank dice, along with the Biblios dice, along with the One Deck Dungeon bits and pieces, bits and bobs. So it's gonna be a little bit of a adventure to kind of get all that to be together. And, oh my gosh, sorry. Yeah, over here we have more shelf stuff. So we have another shelf that can hold stuff. This one's bigger, it can hold more things. And I took out one of the shelves because I wanted to put the score pads here and the cards here. And this actually just happened to work out. It fit perfectly when the shelf was gone. So that's how I use mine here. And the other one I use to store my 20 Strong and Kinfire Delve, and I'll show that one here in a second. But ultimately what you get is you get these kind of storage shelves. And, oh, nice. I even have like a little board that I printed out. Interesting. Oh yeah, cool. All right, I forgot I did that. But you have like this little shelf here. You can put rule books, pages, accessories and stuff. And you can also put your cards here in these slots. For this one I modified because I had a different game stored in here that had a board that went across. So I cut it. So, I mean, I cut a $90 thing. So probably not the best decision in the long run because I did take that thing out of this box. So I feel a little bit sad about that. But ultimately, this is pretty nice to kind of store things. It's definitely overkill for storing things. I have, what is this, 7 or 8 games inside of here. So I guess I'm getting good value out of it. But I would not recommend this in general because it is pretty expensive. Unless you had a very, very, very specific use case. Like for me, I like to store all my games in one spot if I can. And you can see here the top turns into a dice tray. So you can roll your dice inside of here. This is why it fits in the dice accessory side of things, and especially for the 20 Strong. But it's just, I don't know, man. It's $90 is a lot. I mean, I'm at that point to where I have so many accessories and so many different things. So I guess I've the luxury of being able to say that that's expensive. But I did buy it twice, clearly, because I had two of them. But also, I do feel like in the long run, this was not a necessary thing for me to get, because I do have the ability to store my one deck dungeon stuff inside of here, but I think there's competitors that do this better, and we'll talk about one of those competitors later. But for here, I have my, sorry, I said one deck dungeon, I meant to say 20 strong. I have my 20 strongs stored in here. You'll notice that I'm missing 3 of my 20 strongs because it's in the other container, which we'll talk about later. But I have my Tanglewood 20 strong stuff in here. I have my Kimfire Delve stuff in here. I have Smitten 1 and 2 is in here. I have Las Vegas is inside of here. So I have a good bit of things crammed into this one box, a good bit of gaming crammed into this one box, if you will. So that's nice and that's cool. And it comes with like its own little dice tray, which I love this dice tray. It's a great size. This is perfect for chucking dice. You can even use it to store components if you're playing a game to where you maybe need to store components. And it definitely helps out with the portability of things. Like if you're playing at a hotel or something, I've definitely traveled with this particular setup, and I was able to play a board game or two of 20 strong, or not 20 strong. I think I played Pocket Tanks to try to learn how it was played. And I enjoyed my time with it, but it was it's neat. It's kind of like having fancy luggage. You don't need fancy luggage. You can store everything in plastic bags if you really wanted to while traveling. Well, okay, maybe not. That might not be TSA approved, but what I'm trying to say is that it's completely, utterly unnecessary, very expensive. This alone, $80 or $90 a piece. This is $180 in front of me. That doesn't feel good to say out loud. And I really wish I would have spent money on something else. Again, I appreciate having it. It's cool. Gamegenic can make great stuff. Please make it cheaper. Or I would recommend to everybody else, just go to their competitors, because their competitors, I think, are doing similar things for better price points. Okay, so that was the Gamegenic stuff. I think there's one more Gamegenic thing. Let me go and get that out of the way. This is the Gamegenic tokens layer. So the Gamegenic tokens layer is more so for storing tokens, as it says. It is big and bulky. It is not as useful for storing cards, so it is definitely low on my list of recommendation. The Gamegenic tokens layer, is $44.99, so $45 MSRP according to Gamegenic. But you can use it to store stuff. And again, I'll take advantage of this angle, but I have it since I have it here. But you can use it to store tokens and bits and bobs. And it has magnets built around it, so they can kind of magnet together. I guess they're weak magnets. Oh, there we go. Well, maybe I don't have the right, I don't know. I'm trying to see where the magnets are. There we go. It has magnets. The magnets aren't the strongest. And this is a little bit disappointing, the magnetism between these, because some of the other Gamegenic stuff has pretty good magnets going on. And the magnetism for these is kind of, it's a thought. Like this is the idea of a magnet. This is like the concept of a magnet. That's what this is. So you can see there's some magnetism going on, but it's not the strongest magnet. So I'm a little bit disappointed in that. Compared to like the latching, I want to go back to the Gamegenic games layer. The latching on this, the magnets here are pretty good. And there's also a notch that goes into these little holes. That really helps out a lot with the sturdiness in that connection, the confidence in that connection. And going back to these here, you don't have that going on as much. It's just pure magnets. They seem like weak magnets. And I mean, it's nice to have like a unit that you can move around. But the main sell for me on this one is the little dice tray that it gives you. It does give you a little tiny dice tray. And this little tiny dice tray is very small. It's very tiny, but it can be good for travel games. And I think, speaking of 20 strong, which I mentioned previously, I think in 20 strong, they have a licensed version, a 20 strong licensed version. If you told me that 20 strong works with Gamegenic, I would believe you, but I don't know if they did. I don't have one with me. I don't have one here to talk about it directly, but essentially has this similar dice tray, except for you can store like three decks of 20 strong inside of the container instead of the token situation. So, I mean, again, if you told me that Gamegenic and Gamegenic Chip Theory work together, Chip Theory is the people who made 20 strong. If you told me that they work together to make this, I would believe you. But then again, possible somebody else did it. I don't know. The dice tray is pretty nice though. I do like the dice tray. I have it. I definitely have used it in the past. Probably won't use it a ton going forward because this feature here is not useful for me. And I mean that in the sense that it's very bulky. It takes up a lot of space. So that means that when I do try to put it into a board game box, it takes up a ton of space. And I'm only going to be able to store 4 things. I feel like an improvement that could be made for these is if there was like a divider in each one of these, or like a removable divider. So we can have, instead of 4, you can have 8. And then we're getting somewhere, because this is sometimes like you might have, you know, resources where you have like 5 or 6 resources that you have, and you only need that, and like you're using a whole tray for 5 or 6 resources, which is a waste. But if you split this in half, you know, you could just double up, and that will work pretty well. So I think something like that in the future would be really nice. I'm not going to modify it myself, but if I were motivated enough, I would modify it myself to do that. But otherwise, this is not entirely useful. This part's not entirely useful. This is useful, but at that point, I would just spend $10 somewhere else to get a small dice tray. So definitely not worth the purchase. This is the last Gamegenic item that I have here on the table. So we'll let the Gamegenic section be done, so we can move on to the other stuff that I think is a little bit more worth. In summary on the Gamegenic stuff though, I want to say Gamegenic makes really quality stuff. I do appreciate them for making what they make. Clearly I purchase a lot of their stuff. I just think that for the money that you're paying and for the functionality that you get, it's either way too expensive, in my opinion. It's like the Gamegenic Games Lair. If it was like more like $60 to $65, I think it'll be worth it. But $90 is a big ask for that particular storage mechanism, especially considering that there's competitors that do similar things, not as good, but they do similar things. Okay. All right. So Gamegenic makes cool quality stuff. The Crystal Tower is probably the only thing I'll recommend out of that entire set. And even then, that's a hard sell for me. So moving on to the next one, we have this, which is called, I don't know the official name for it. There's some that are available on Amazon, and the ones I found on Amazon are called the Bamboo Dice Tower. Let me see. So Bamboo Dice Tower. So very generic name. I got this from my friend in the local game store. It has had a dragon on it, and it's made out of bamboo, made out of little wooden pieces. I can switch to my other camera that, again, this camera won't always be here. I just want to clarify. So please don't get used to this camera being here. I just had it up for some other reason. But this tower is just basically, and I lost the dice. All right, it's just a little wooden dice tower. I think it sounds pretty good. It has a nice hollow sound to it, which sounds nice and satisfying. And I think it's very comparable to the Crystal Tower, the Gamegenic Crystal Twister. I do have a few problems with this one, but before I talk about those, I'll talk about the pros. It's very portable. You can use it just like this by itself, and it's also pretty sturdy. Like this thing is solid. This thing is like, you can knock this against somebody's head and knock them out. I'm not recommending you do that, but you could. And you can just kind of roll your dice in there. The other thing I like about it is the fact that this section does hold onto the dice pretty well. You can't store it. You cannot store it in the dice like this. Although I suppose you could. I haven't tried this, but let me try it out. I suppose you could drop a dice in there. Again, I'm just kind of spitballing here with some ideas. You can just drop a few dice in there, and yeah, you can kind of store a set of dice in there. I mean, I don't think that's the intended use. Oh, that's super not the intended use, because that magnet is not strong enough to hold it. But it is held on by magnets, which is neat. But you could do that if you're very careful and cautious with it. I wouldn't recommend it though. And yeah, it's just a nice little small presentation. MSRP is for $20. You can probably find it on Amazon for slightly cheaper. I think that's a great price. I could recommend this all day long if you wanted a nice portable dice tower. The issues that I have with it are the fact that this fence here is very tall. So it's a little bit hard to see from the overhead view, so I'm okay with the side view. But if I roll this, let's say I have the dice tower sitting like this, and I'm just gonna roll a handful of tiny dice here, some 12 millimeters. And when I roll them, this is where you'll see where the issue can come up with this. So, well, okay, I missed. But you can see that like this fence is high enough to where it's hard to see the other ones there. You gotta like rotate it, which is not the biggest thing in the world, but it's kind of annoying if people are sitting around watching you roll dice and they all want to see the dice value. That's a little tough. The overhead camera view, which is what I normally record my videos with, doesn't have that much of a problem because you can see right into it. But the realistic, I'm sitting at the table looking for where my camera is. It's like, what is that? What is that dice value? I gotta like move it around and just peek over. So I don't like how tall this fence is. And the other thing that you saw happen a few times already But the other thing is that the opening for this one is very narrow. I don't appreciate how narrow it is. You have to be a little bit more precise with your aim. So let me throw some 16 millimeters in here, some standard size. And yeah, like it happens all the time to where like dice end up tumbling down. And technically that randomizes it enough, but I want to make sure it goes through the dice tower because I get my nice little clinky clink feedback, if you will. That's kind of one of the beauties of this one, is that it sounds nice, but the narrow opening does not help, and that feels a little annoying. You're basically trading portability in the form factor here for I guess comfort in trying to roll them. So that's a huge consideration. So you have to be very cautious and very aware of that. But like I said, these are very generic. It seems like they all probably come from the same factory that just kind of prints them out and lets people put their own logo on them. I've seen some from different websites that have their own name on it. I've seen some, like I said, my friendly local game store that has this little dragon on it. I've seen some on Amazon that have like a different design on it. And I've seen some that are blank. So I think this is just like a generic one. You could probably find one for less than $15 if you tried hard enough. But I think this is nice, and I like this one quite a bit. And of all the ones that I have here, this is one that impressed me the most. Actually, this is the one that impressed me the second most. The one that impressed me the most, we'll get to here shortly. But cons of this one, I think, don't outweigh the pros. I think the pros are really worth it. $20, you're not spending a ton of money, relatively speaking, especially not compared to some of the Gamegenic stuff. You get yourself some nice functionality. You don't have to use the fence if you don't want to, or the tray. You can just literally just use this. It's portable. You can throw it anywhere. It's nice and rock solid. Yeah, I think there's a lot going for this one, despite the fact it's only $20. So that is that one. So now we're gonna move over to our next one. And like I said, can't make any promises. This is gonna be a short video because there's a lot of things I'm covering here. The next one's gonna be the Ultra Pro Alcove Tower, I think is what it's called. This one's claim to fame, besides the fact that I am showing a black item on a dark background, so my apologies ahead of time. Again, I'll switch over to the other camera, and let me turn on this light. Ooh. Okay, we'll see if this helps. It doesn't help. All right, one second, let me angle this down. Does that help? I feel like that helped exactly none. I feel like I might have made it worse. Wait, is it turning? Oh, shoot. Okay, I'm changing the wrong setting there. Sorry. This is me trying to mid-video adjust stuff. But yeah, it helps out a little bit, sure. So this is the, like I said, the Ultra Pro Alcove Tower. And the claim to fame for this one is that it is nice and portable. It closes up. And the marketing for this one says you can store 40 standard size dice, whatever that's supposed to mean. So I looked up the standard sizes and I tested this before. I'm not going to reveal the results yet, but we have 40 dice here. I'm going to do 40 D6 first and test that out. And then I'm going to do a mix of some D&D dice plus whatever else I need to fill in. So we'll do that here shortly. But first, let me go ahead and give you guys a sound roll so you can kind of hear how it sounds. And I think it sounds very plasticky. I don't like the sound of it. My friends love the sound of it. They think that sounds good. I disagree, especially compared to the bamboo one. Like, I do not like the sound of that. It sounds plasticky, and I guess it is plasticky. So sure, it sounds like it is, but I don't know. It just doesn't sound good to me. This one doesn't have any problems with D4s though. So or D8s. And none of the towers have problems with D4s or D8s outside of the Crystal Twister, of course, because that one is, you know, particularly complex with its build. But I just don't like that sound personally. It functions, it works. It has this little fence here, and I think this is the appropriate height for this one because, like, no matter where you're sitting, unless you're sitting like this, with the tower away from you, sorry, with the back of the tower to you, I mean, you can kind of see it from everywhere, and I think this is the appropriate height for a little fence area. So I do appreciate Ultra Pro for not only thinking about that, but also implementing that into their build. It also helps out the portability. As you can see, it helps close it up. You can do that. And the claim to fame for this one is I can fit 40 standard size dice. So like I said before, I'm gonna go ahead and grab all my D6s here. I should have more than 40. Let me see, these are all standard size ones. And these ones, I think this is 20. So I think this is 20. And if I get all of my fate dice here, this should be 20 as well. So it should be 20 and 20. Let me double check. So we got 4, and then 8, and then 12, 16, 20 of those. And then we should have 10 of each of these. So 5, and then 10, and 15, and then 20. All right, so we got 40 standard D6. These are the standard size for D6, as I mentioned at the top of the video, is 16 millimeter. That's the standard size. Let's see if we can fit 40 of these dice in there. Oh, sorry, you couldn't see me count those. There you go. My apologies. Let's see if we can fit 40 of these in there. So we're just gonna toss them in there and see how it goes. So, oh, okay. All right, let's not lose dice here. And again, this is not an advertising video, I promise. I'm just showing you these things because if you're considering spending this good money, oh, by the way, I forgot to mention the price. The price of this one is $50. Sorry, $47.99. That's the price listed on Ultra Pro directly. So you can find it from like Amazon or some secondhand sellers for probably cheaper. But again, $50 is quite pricey. And yeah, this can fit 40 D6s inside of it. You can definitely fit more if you get things to kind of pack in a little bit closer. So I have a little bit more room to fit stuff, but that's the 40 dice. I just want to do that live here on the camera. Let me get that out of there. And let's try to see if it can fit with the more D&D style dice, because it specifically advertised 20 standard size D&D dice, I think is what it said on the advertising. I threw away the advertising sheet, so I don't know where it's at. And I definitely don't have 40 from this set. So let's see, we should have 14 plus 5, because I've lost some dice here. Also, this die is like nice and weird. I love it. It's a D4, if I'm not mistaken. Anyway, these are 14. There should be 14. So 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, plus 5, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. So we now need, that's 19. We need 11 more. Is that right? So we're gonna try to get a mix of not D6s here, or not just D6s. I think all these here are standard size, so I'm just gonna pick up the ones as I go. And there we go. All right, so I think that should be good. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Perfect. All right, so here is 40 of these dice. Actually, 11 plus 19 is not 40. That is it 40? Hold on. Doing live math is always dangerous. That's 30. Okay. Whew. Glad I checked that because I was about to look foolish. All right, I need 10 more. So 1, 2, 3, and then 4, 5, 6. And this looks smaller than the other one, but sure. 7. This looks bigger than the other one. Let's throw some D4s in there. 8, 9, and 10. Okay. All right. Now we have 40 dice because math is working. So let's see if we can fit all these in there. And I feel like the answer should be yes, because these dice should pack in more efficiently than the D6s did. Yeah, there you go. So if for some reason you need 40 dice always with you, like a variety of dice, maybe you're the DM and you need a dice tower, this could work. They do have these in different colors and different designs. There's a Critical Role official one that they have that's nice and decorated. That's pretty neat. I think that one costs slightly more, but I feel like $45 or $48 is a lot to ask. I think I got mine from Amazon for $40. So I feel like, I don't know, it's difficult because on the one hand, you're paying more money for like the portability, kind of the construction, the magnets and all that stuff. But also you're kind of also paying for the name of Ultra Pro. So it's hard to fully give all my recommendations for something like this because I feel like this is also overly expensive, like the Gamegenic stuff. If this was like $25, $30, sure. Like I said, I got mine for 40, so I feel like that's more worth the bang for the buck side of things. But again, it depends on what your needs are, depends on what you want from a dice tower. And as you can see here, it can do some cool stuff. It can be impressive. but the question is, are you willing to pay the extra money for it? And again, in the grand scheme of things, especially if you use it a lot, $40 is not that big of an investment. Sorry, $50 is not that big of an investment in the long run, but still, you know, we got bills to pay, so sometimes it's a hard sell, right? So I'm gonna switch over. Oh no, I gotta cut that light off. Let me cut this light off here. I might need to turn it back on in a second, but let's switch back over to our top view, and that's gonna be enough for the Ultra Pro one. For the next one we're gonna talk about, this one's going to be the Stepane MTG Commander Box. I found this one on Amazon, and this is the one. If you're looking for a single thing to purchase from this entire video, if you're looking for me to sell you on something, if you're looking at me as a salesperson who's trying to clearly get you to spend some money, this is the only thing I can fully recommend with all of my heart. The Bamboo Tower even pales in comparison to this one. And the reason why is because this is for people who play Magic the Gathering and do Commander. It's designed for those, it's targeted towards that particular demographic or that particular person who would do those things. And it has a lot of features that are unnecessary for normal, dice rolling stuff, but that are just like nice quality of life. That are just nice for nice, just good for nice quality of life stuff. So what I mean by that is that opening this up, we have a non-removable top, which is a little annoying, but it's not that big. It's not the end of the world. You can see I have my 20 strong. It lives in here. This is where the rest of it is. I mentioned before that the Gamegenic one was holding most of my 20 strong, the Tanglewood at least, and this is holding the original, the OG series. So it has an area for cards. This is about 100 cards sleeve that you can fit here. Thankfully, with the 20 strong series, the cards are plastic, so I did not need to sleeve them. But it's still a kind of a tight fit in here. It's a little bit hard to kind of, like, if I need to get the middle deck for some reason, I pretty much have to take out everything in order to get to it. It also has this area here that you can use to hold your Commander card. If you're playing Commander, I don't, so I don't know how any of that works. But I know I can put my rule sheet there. I don't, but I could. It fits in there just barely because it's it's not a perfect closing. So let me show here. Oh no. Did I put this backwards? Yeah, I put it backwards. Okay. Whew. There we go. It's not a perfect close, and it's not going to clasp all the way because the rule book has some thickness to it. But once I kind of throw it in there, it stays, it holds, and I can have like a nice little display for my 20 strong. So I might purchase another one of these to put the rest of the 20 strong stuff in because I do like this for a few other reasons. The other reason is it has a tray down here. And this tray you can use to store your stuff. So you can see clearly I have the 20 strong dice and the 20 strong chip counter. And the best feature, the killer feature for me is it has a dice tower built in. And it is the simplest thing. It's the simplest thing in the world, but oh my gosh, I love this so much. Like, this is a nice size dice tower. It looks good, it feels good. I'll switch over to my other camera so we can kind of see it from the side. It stands there right in front of you, it stores everything, and it rolls dice. It does what you need to do. The fence here, I think, is a little bit, or the gate, whatever it's called, I think this is a little bit too tall, like it's just slightly too tall, but even then I can forgive it because this is $20. Like, this is $24 at worst on Amazon. And I got mine for $20 because it was a slight sale, which really it just means that it was actually $20 all the time, all along. I think right now there's a sale on it on my Amazon page for $18. So of course that fluctuates, so take that with a grain of salt. But I think this is great at this time. I really wish I can get more of these. I do not have a justification to get more of these, but I kind of want to. They come in different colors. I think some of the colors are more expensive than others, but again, it has a built-in dice tower right there. It has a tray for me to store my dice here. And this thing was just made to hold my 20 strong. Like, this is just made to hold the 20 strong stuff. It stores the first series in there pretty well. There's a little bit of, well, not much wiggle room in there. As you can see, I can put my rule sheet here on top if I really wanted to, which is what I normally do because I don't like squeezing it inside this little plastic container. And I could, I guess, just throw the rule sheet in there. Hold on, I didn't try that. Yeah, I could just do that, but I feel like it's not really that protected, so I would put it in the plastic if I'm doing that, or just not put it there at all. And it's a nice little magnetic clasp. Now, a few issues I do have with it is that, like I said, the top doesn't remove, and that makes it a little bit awkward sometimes to kind of put on the table. But I guess if you're doing Magic the Gathering stuff, like, this could be like a play area. I don't know. I don't do enough Magic the Gathering. And actually, now think about it. Well, I mean, if you, yeah, that's like a nice little dashboard going, you know? especially in this angle we have here. So you can get your cards. Let me get some cards out here. Ooh, ow. Again, that's a very tight fit because of all the cards, and these cards are slippery, so be careful. All right, there we go. And that's another thing I forgot to mention. I mentioned earlier that a lot of the Gamegenic stuff I can't recommend because there's knockoffs and other brands that have similar things that do it for cheaper. This is an example of one of those things. One of the things that you lose with something like this is that you lose some of the extra room that it gives you. The Gamegenic stuff, it gives you a lot of extra space that you, so it says it can hold 600 cards. You can probably fit 800 in there, all given, and that's not including the drawers. So it gives you a little bit extra space inside of the Gamegenic stuff. For this one, it says 100 cards. I believe it's probably exactly 100 cards you can fit in there. I think there's definitely more than 100 cards because these are not sleeved. Sorry, let me reverse that last statement. I think if you sleeved your cards, it could fit maybe 100 cards almost exactly. That's what I meant to say. These are not sleeved though, so there's a little bit of extra space in there. But what I'm trying to show is that you can probably use this as like a little surface for your cards. I mean, I don't know if that'll work for Magic. I haven't played Magic. I played it digitally a few times, but in person I haven't really played Magic. So do not quote me on any of that. But I guess this could act as like a little battle station type thing going on. I don't know. I'm just kind of being imaginative here, but I'm just saying $20. This is $20. This is worth it. This is the purchase. This is the one. This is the one. If you're looking for the one, this is the one. It also has a dice tower on the side, which is very great for games like the 20 Strong series, which is why this one will probably live in here permanently. Even though the rest of the Tanglewood stuff will not fit in here. I might even get a separate one for them. I'll consider it. I keep flip-flopping because I don't know if I want to, or if I want to just keep it where it's at. And there we go. Boom, look at that, dice tray. So some pros and cons with this one for sure, but I feel like the price is just hard to beat. $20, $24. Like, heck, they can charge $30 for this. I think it'll still be worth it. But I like the $20 price tag. It looks nice. They have different colors for slightly higher prices, like $23 instead of $20. And this one is just the one. This is the one. This is the one. I don't know how else to say that this is the one. If you're looking for any single thing to get from this entire video, this is the one. All right, let's get that out of the way. Buy the one. Let's go back to the next one. Ooh. That was almost bad. All right. The last thing here on the table is actually off to the side. It's just a little fan-rolled tower. It's a collapsible tower. I wanted to be a fan of this. Fanroll. I want to be a fan of this, but it's a little bit finicky. So let me first start with the good of everything. It does kind of fold flat enough. You can fit this into like a backpack pretty easily. Slide it behind some books or something, and you just have like a little dice tower. It is sturdy enough when you stand it up. I say sturdy enough because I do wish it was a little bit sturdier, but it is sturdy enough when you set it up for it to stand on its own. Oops. There we go. For it to stand on its own, and you just kind of get it there, stand on its own, and then when you roll dice, it's felt, so it just kind of roll. Oh, well, I was not intending for that to happen, but dice got stuck, so there we go. Yeah, so sometimes it can get stuck. And that's kind of the reason why this is I really wanted to like this situation, because the reason why things get stuck, and I'll turn the light on and I'll switch to the other camera here in a second. Let me see. All right, I should probably just use the app, but I just had to stand up. The reason why this is sometimes good and it's hard to recommend is because it's hard to see because it's dark color on dark color, but it has these flaps. And these flaps here, let me see if I can get a side profile. These flaps here, these are what actually acts as the tumbling mechanism for the dice tower. And the situation that you have is that if these are not at the proper angle, as in when you're setting it up, if you don't set these at the proper angle, the dice can very easily get stuck. So again, this is probably extremely difficult to see, but if I kind of have this one like so, this top one like so, and this bottom one like that, then dice can easily get stuck right there. And that's been very frustrating. I don't know what the full solution for this is, outside of maybe stitching this a little bit lower. Like if they stitch this one, the second one down here a little bit lower, it gives you more clearance. I don't know. But it's pretty annoying, especially when you first set it up, because you're not really sure if that's gonna happen. And then when it does happen, you just kind of like reach in and kind of knock that down a little bit and make sure that it gives you a little bit of space, and everything is fine afterwards. But the reason why I don't like this one too much is because one, I mean, yeah, you save on portability, but it's still pretty large. Like for instance, the bamboo tower we talked about earlier it's just as good at the rolling dice, it has a little bit less room for reaching, but as you can see, this thing kind of towers over it. No pun intended for the dice towers. But, you know, it kind of goes in there, it rolls, and, you know, it's okay. It's not as satisfying as just hearing like the, like nice little clanks in there. You know, I like that sound better, for sure. But this, in a pinch, this could work. It acts as a dice tower. It does dice tower things. It rolls your dice, it randomizes them, and it gives you everything you could ever want from a dice tower. So I'm not gonna speak too much more about that one because I don't think it's a full recommend. MSRP for this one, forgot to mention, is $20. So again, I'd rather get the other thing instead of this because this is $20 and I feel like all you're getting is, I don't know, faux leather and felt. I don't know, suede. I don't know, it's a hard sell for me. Clearly I have one. I don't remember how much I paid for it at the board game store. Things like $15 or so. But yeah, it's a hard sell. So there you go. All right, so that is going to be concluding, or we're going to be getting into our conclusion of the video. And in conclusion, this is nice. This is like a nice little luxury purchase. And the Gamegenic dungeon, actually pretty much anything Gamegenic dice tower wise or dice accessory wise is just a luxury thing to have. So if you can get those, sure. If you can afford it, if your budget allows for it, go for it. But I really think that it's hard to compete in that world when you have things like this that exist, that it's like a complete solution, especially for games that use dice and cards. Like the One Deck Dungeon series can probably fit perfectly in this. I haven't tried to put it all in here, but it could probably fit perfectly in this. You can kind of put all your stuff you need to put in here. You can put the score sheets right there, so it has space for that. And this might be just a good all-in solution for dice games or games that use dice a lot. Well, I guess dice games that are small and compact. I'm trying to think of another one. So One Deck Dungeon for sure, 20 strong. That's what I have in here currently. Looking around the room, Yeah, those are the only two I can think of. I can't think of any other kind of complete game. Oh yeah, you definitely be able to fit Campfire Delve inside of here. Campfire Delve is just basically a deck of cards and some cardboard pieces and dice. And that's pretty much the entire game. So you can super fit that inside of here. And there's probably some other games too that are good candidates to put inside of a box like this. But it has to be very specific again. You have to have the need for a dice tower. And $20 is so hard to beat, man. It's just so hard to beat. I don't know. Okay. All right. So there we go. We got our giant pile of dice here. So I'm just going to bring these back and spread them out. Get a nice little weird dice going. And yeah, it's going to be the conclusion of this video. So hopefully this was useful. Hopefully this is beneficial for everybody. I just want to make sure everybody gets kind of what they need from their stuff. The Ultra Pro Alcove, if I'm going all out on bling, this is nice. I'll probably be traveling with this for some of my games or just throw in my bag because it's nice to have like a dice tower that's kind of all together and complete. The second competitor will be this one. The Ultra Pro wins in that fight because I already own them, but the Ultra Pro wins in that fight because it has a much wider open area for you to drop dice, so it's a lot easier. And this little gate here is nice and a nice size, so I think this one works pretty well for what it does. And that's if I consider all the things I have. The Gamegenic token or games layer, these are cool if you have them already. But it's just really hard to recommend because $90 is just so much money. Like, yes, you can store a lot of things inside of it. It's a storage solution too, but $90 storage solution, it's like the competitors out there are like $40 and they do similar things. They don't do the exact same thing. They don't have like a dice tray top. They don't have the drawers on the side, although some do, but they're not as quality or good. But still, $90 is such a hard sell. So I don't know. I hope maybe Gamegenic can kind of compete in the cheaper side of things. Because my understanding is that Gamegenic started off on the cheaper side of things and they just became more and more, you know, bespoke as they came along. So take that however you will. Ultimately, I'm going to keep using the things that I use, of course. And you'll probably see this in the 20 Strong series as I do more and more of those videos because that's where they live now. Yeah, that's all I have to say. So hopefully this video was informative. Hopefully this video was useful. Hopefully the angles helped out with the extra camera. Again, that's not going to be a normal staple of my setup, mainly because it takes up more space than it should. But I just happen to have the setup for a different video that I was working on. All right, So hopefully that is all good. Thank you all very much for watching. Hope you all enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments below what were some of your favorites that you saw here. And yeah, as always, I will see you all whenever.